Puppies abandoned on a busy highway. Then something incredible happens. When Maya arrived at the shelter, the rescuers were already working to settle the puppies into a safe space. The shelter's staff moved quickly, assessing each tiny pup for injuries and signs of distress. Maya hovered nearby, heart heavy with concern. "They're malnourished and dehydrated," said Dr. Taylor, the shelter's veterinarian. "But considering the circumstances, they're remarkably resilient. A few days of care, and they should be on the mend." Maya felt a wave of relief, but also a pang of anger. How could someone just leave them like that? She asked, her voice shaking. It's like they didn't care if they lived or died. Dr. Taylor nodded solemnly. "Unfortunately, it happens more often than you'd think. But thanks to you, they have a chance now." Over the next few days, Maya couldn't stop thinking about the puppies. She visited the shelter daily, bringing supplies and spending time in their pen. The 5 siblings had started to show their personalities. There was the bold one with the white chest patch, the shy runt who clung to its siblings, and the playful one who seemed determined to chew on everything. Maya laughed softly as she watched them tumble over one another. "Your little miracles," she said, kneeling beside their pen. "All of you." The shelter staff was thrilled by Maya's involvement. "You've got a knack for this," Dr. Taylor said one afternoon. "They trust you." Maya felt her chest tighten with emotion. "I just want them to know they're safe now." As the puppies grew stronger, Maya turned her attention to finding out who had abandoned them. She couldn't shake the image of them huddled on a highway, terrified and vulnerable. "Someone has to be held accountable," she told Dr. Taylor. With the shelter's help, Maya contacted local authorities and shared everything she knew about the incident. They began investigating, starting with security footage from the nearby area. The footage showed a dark van pulling onto the highway shoulder early that morning. A shadowy figure stepped out, carrying a box, and placed it on the median before driving away. Maya's stomach churned as she watched the video. "How could they just leave them there?" she whispered. The police assured her they would do their best to trace the vehicle. In the meantime, Maya couldn't sit idly by. She shared the story on social media, posting pictures of the puppies and recounting the moment she found them. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of people shared her post, expressing outrage at the abandonment and admiration for Maya's actions. Messages of support poured in, along with offers to help with the puppies' care. "People are amazing," Maya said one evening as she scrolled through the comments. "For every cruel person out there are 100 who want to do good." The story caught the attention of a local news station, and Maya agreed to an interview. Standing in the shelter's playroom with the puppies scampering around her feet, she spoke passionately about the need to protect vulnerable animals. "These puppies didn't ask to be here," she said. "They deserve love and care, just like any living being. And we need to hold people accountable for treating them like garbage." The media attention worked. Tips began pouring in, and one of them led the authorities to a local breeder with a history of neglect. When they arrived at his property, they found several other dogs in poor condition, tied up in a filthy yard. The breeder was taken into custody, and the dogs were rescued, but the news left Maya feeling a mix of relief and anger. "At least they can't hurt anyone else," she said. "But how many more are out there suffering because of people like this?" Her resolve hardened. Saving the puppies was just the beginning. She wanted to do more. Back at the shelter, the puppies were thriving. They had grown plumper, their coats glossy from good food and care. Maya felt a swell of pride as she watched them play, their tails wagging furiously. "You've come so far," she said softly, "and you deserve the best." The shelter had already started vetting potential adopters, but Maya found herself struggling with the idea of letting them go. "They feel like mine," she admitted to Dr. Taylor one afternoon. Dr. Taylor smiled knowingly. "They've imprinted on you. It's no surprise, given how much time you've spent with them." Maya looked down at the bold pup with the white chest patch, who was chewing on her shoelace. "Maybe I'll keep one," she said with a laugh. As the adoption process moved forward, Maya made sure each puppy went to a loving home. She personally met with the families, watching as the puppies bonded with their new owners. It was bittersweet, but Maya felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing they would be cherished. When the last puppy was adopted, Maya returned to her now quiet apartment. She missed the chaos of their little paws and playful barks, but she knew she had done the right thing. And she wasn't done yet. Inspired by the experience, Maya decided to start her own initiative, partnering with the shelter to rescue and rehabilitate abandoned animals. She called it Highway Angels, in honor of the puppies who had sparked her mission. The first event Maya organized brought the community together to raise funds and awareness. Families who had adopted the puppies attended, sharing stories of how much joy they had brought into their lives. Maya stood before the crowd, her heart full as she spoke. "These puppies showed me the power of love and resilience," she said. "They turned something heartbreaking into something beautiful. And now we have the chance to do that for so many more." Maya poured every ounce of her energy into Highway Angels. She started small, organizing weekly rescue missions with volunteers from the shelter, combing through rural areas, abandoned lots, and highways for animals in need. Each new rescue was a bittersweet reminder of the puppies who had started it all, and their success stories fueled her determination. One particularly busy week, Maya and her team rescued a pregnant stray dog found limping along the edge of a country road. The dog, later named Sunny, gave birth to 7 healthy puppies at the shelter. Sunny's transformation from a frightened, malnourished stray to a doting mother became another symbol of what Highway Angel stood for. "You're incredible," Maya whispered to Sunny one evening as the dog nursed her puppies. "You're proof that no matter how tough things get, love can change everything." Word of Highway Angels spread quickly. Social media posts documenting their rescues gained traction, and local businesses began sponsoring their efforts. Donations poured in, allowing Maya to expand her operations and bring on more volunteers. But with the growth came challenges. The sheer number of animals in need often overwhelmed Maya and her team, leaving her wondering if they were doing enough. One night, after a particularly grueling rescue mission, Maya sat in her office with her head in her hands. "What if we can't save them all?" she murmured to herself. Her phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from one of the families who had adopted a puppy from the highway rescue. The photo showed the bold, white-chested pup, now named Max, curled up on the couch with a young boy. "He's changed our lives," the message read. "Thank you for giving him a chance." Maya smiled through her tears. "One at a time," she whispered. "That's how we make a difference." Inspired by the impact of her work, Maya began organizing educational events at schools and community centers. She shared her story, using the puppies as an example of resilience and the importance of kindness toward animals. Children listened intently, their faces lighting up when they saw pictures of the puppies thriving in their new homes. "You have the power to help too," Maya would tell them. "Every small act of kindness makes a big difference." These events not only raised awareness but also inspired others to get involved. Soon, Highway Angels was receiving applications from people eager to volunteer, adopt, or support their mission in any way they could. One day, while organizing supplies at the shelter, Maya received a call from a journalist at a major news outlet. "We've been following your story," the journalist said, "and we'd like to feature Highway Angels in a segment about community-driven rescue efforts." Maya hesitated, overwhelmed by the idea of national attention, but she knew it was an opportunity to shine a light on the plight of abandoned animals and inspire others to take action. "Let's do it," she said, her voice steady. The feature aired a month later, showcasing the work of Highway Angels and sharing the story of the puppies' rescue. The response was overwhelming. Donations skyrocketed, and messages of support poured in from across the country. Maya's phone buzzed constantly with inquiries about how to help. "This is bigger than I ever dreamed," Maya told Dr. Taylor one evening. "But it's not about me, it's about them." The next few years brought incredible growth. Maya used the increased funding to establish a dedicated rescue facility, complete with medical care, spacious play areas, and a memorial garden honoring the puppies who had started it all. At the garden center stood a statue of the 5 puppies, their little tails raised as if wagging. On the statue's plaque were the words, "For all the lives saved and all the lives yet to be saved. Your journey was the start of something incredible." Maya stood before the statue during the grand opening, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "This is for them," she said softly, "for every animal that was told they didn't matter. We're here to prove they do." As Highway Angels continued to expand, Maya remained deeply involved in every aspect of the work. She spent her days in the field, her evenings at the rescue, and her nights dreaming of new ways to reach even more animals. But no matter how much time passed, she never forgot the puppies who had brought her to this moment. One quiet evening, as Maya walked through the memorial garden, she paused by the statue. She placed a hand on the cold metal, her thoughts drifting to that chaotic morning on the highway. It had been the scariest moment of her life, but it had also been the beginning of something beautiful. "You started all of this," she whispered. "And because of you, we've saved so many others." Years passed, and highway angels became a symbol of hope for abandoned and neglected animals. Maya's story was featured in magazines, documentaries, and countless online articles. Families who had adopted animals through her rescue sent her letters and photos, sharing how their lives had been transformed. Despite the recognition, Maya remained humble, her focus always on the animals. But as the organization grew, so did the challenges. One day, Maya received troubling news from her operations manager. "We've been inundated with calls," he said. "There's been a sharp increase in abandonment cases this month. We're stretched thin, Maya." Maya's heart sank. She knew the work was never ending, but hearing it laid out so starkly was overwhelming. "What can we do?" she asked. "We need more space, more funding, and more volunteers," he said. "The need is outpacing our resources." Maya nodded, her mind racing. "Then we'll find a way," she said firmly. "We've come too far to let this stop us." Determined to address the growing crisis, Maya launched an ambitious campaign to expand Highway Angels. She worked tirelessly, holding fundraisers, meeting with potential donors, and rallying community support. But the pressure took its toll. Late nights and long hours left Maya exhausted, and she often found herself questioning whether she was doing enough. One night, as she sat in her office surrounded by paperwork, a message popped up on her phone. It was from a woman named Kelly, who had adopted one of the original highway puppies years ago. The message included a photo of the dog, now a healthy, happy adult, sitting beside Kelly's toddler. "I just wanted to thank you again," Kelly wrote. "Max is the heart of our family. We can't imagine life without him. What you do matters more than you know." Maya stared at the photo, tears streaming down her face. In that moment, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. "This is why we fight," she said to herself. For them, Maya's campaign gained momentum, thanks in part to her personal connection with the animals and the powerful stories she shared. The community rallied behind her, hosting bake sales, charity runs, and even a concert to raise funds. Donations poured in, and soon, Highway Angels was able to secure the land needed for a second facility. The groundbreaking ceremony was an emotional event. Maya stood before a crowd of supporters, her voice trembling as she spoke. "This isn't just a building," she said. "It's a promise that every animal deserves a second chance. Together, we're making that promise a reality." The crowd erupted into applause, and Maya felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She looked up at the sky, silently thanking the puppies who had started it all. But just as things seemed to be turning around, Maya faced an unexpected obstacle. A powerful developer had purchased land near the original rescue facility and planned to build a shopping center. The construction threatened to disrupt the sanctuary's peace and potentially scare off the animals. Maya was furious. "This place is supposed to be a refuge," she said during an emergency meeting with her team. "We can't let them ruin that." She reached out to the developer, hoping to negotiate, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. "We're within our rights," the developer's representative said dismissively. "You'll just have to adapt." Maya refused to back down. She rallied the community once again, organizing protests and petitions to stop the construction. The media picked up the story, and people from all over voiced their support for Highway Angels. The fight was long and grueling, but Maya's determination never wavered. Finally, after months of legal battles and public outcry, the developer agreed to a compromise. They would build a soundproof barrier around the sanctuary and limit construction during critical hours for the animals. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a victory nonetheless. Maya stood before the volunteers and supporters who had fought alongside her, her voice filled with emotion. "This was never just about protecting a piece of land," she said. "It was about standing up for the animals who can't fight for themselves. And together, we did that." With the immediate threat resolved, Maya threw herself back into her work. She knew there would always be challenges, but she also knew she wasn't alone. The community she had built around Highway Angels was stronger than ever, united by a shared belief in the power of compassion. One evening, as Maya walked through the memorial garden, she paused by the statue of the puppies. The golden light of the setting sun bathed the garden in warmth, and for a moment, Maya felt a profound sense of peace. "You've changed the world," she whispered, "and I'll keep fighting for you, for all of them." As she stood there, the wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it the soft sound of life and hope. Maya smiled, knowing that the work she had started would continue to grow, inspiring others to carry the torch. Because the puppy's story wasn't just about survival, it was about transformation, love, and the boundless potential of second chances. And as long as Highway Angels existed, their legacy would live on. Years later, Highway Angels had grown into a nationally recognized organization, with facilities in multiple states and a network of thousands of volunteers. The movement had saved tens of thousands of animals, each rescue a testament to the power of compassion and resilience. Maya, now an experienced leader, was often invited to speak at conferences and events, sharing her journey and inspiring others to make a difference. Despite her success, Maya remained grounded. She spent most of her time in the field, working alongside volunteers, meeting new rescues, and ensuring every animal felt the love and care they deserved. Her days were long and exhausting, but they were also filled with purpose. One sunny afternoon, as Maya walked through the garden at the original Highway Angels facility, she noticed a young woman sitting by the statue of the puppies. The woman held a small dog in her lap and was gently stroking its fur. Maya approached with a warm smile. "They're beautiful, aren't they?" she said, nodding toward the statue. The woman looked up, her eyes glistening with tears. "They're more than beautiful," she said. "They're the reason I'm here." The woman introduced herself as Anna and explained that she had adopted her dog, Benny, from Highway Angels facility a year ago. "I was going through a tough time," Anna said. "I felt like I didn't have a purpose anymore. Then I saw Benny's picture online, and something just clicked. He saved me as much as I saved him." Maya knelt beside Anna, her heart swelling with emotion. "That's the magic of these animals," she said. "They remind us of what matters." Anna smiled, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for starting this," she said. "You've changed so many lives, mine included." As Maya watched Anna and Benny walk away, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Stories like Anna's were why she had fought so hard, why she had poured her heart into Highway Angels. Each life saved was a ripple in a vast ocean of change. To commemorate the 20th anniversary of Highway Angels, Maya organized a massive adoption event and community celebration. Families who had adopted animals through the rescue came from all over, bringing their pets to reunite with the volunteers who had saved them. The event was a joyous occasion, filled with laughter, tears, and heartfelt stories. At the center of it all stood the statue of the puppies, surrounded by flowers and handwritten notes. Maya gave a speech, her voice steady but filled with emotion as she addressed the crowd. 20 years ago, 5 little lives were left to fend for themselves on a busy highway, she said. They could have been forgotten, but instead, they became the start of something extraordinary. Because of them, we've saved thousands of others. Because of them, we built a community that believes in love, resilience, and second chances. The crowd erupted into applause, and Maya stepped down, her heart brimming with gratitude. As she walked through the crowd, families stopped to thank her, their pets wagging tails and purring happily by their sides. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Maya stood alone in the garden, her hand resting on the statue. The day's events replayed in her mind, each smiling face and wagging tail a reminder of how far they had come. "You started all of this," she said softly, "and I promise I'll keep it going." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it the faint sound of laughter and life. Maya smiled, feeling the presence of those 5 tiny puppies who had changed everything. Their story had sparked a movement, and their legacy would live on in every rescue, every adoption, and every heart they touched. Because what began as an act of cruelty had been transformed into a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of compassion and the boundless potential of second chances. As Maya stood in the fading light of the garden, she thought about all the lives Highway Angels had touched. Each success story was a thread in a tapestry woven from love, resilience, and second chances. But it wasn't just about the animals, it was about the people who had been transformed along the way. She thought of Anna and Benny, of the countless families who had found joy and healing through adoption. She thought of the volunteers who had turned their compassion into action, giving their time and hearts to a cause that was bigger than themselves. And most of all, she thought of the 5 little puppies who had started it all. "You gave me a purpose I never knew I needed," Maya whispered, her fingers brushing the cool metal of the statue. "And because of you, so many others have found their purpose too." In the years that followed, Maya's work continued to grow. Highway Angels expanded internationally, partnering with rescues across the globe to save animals in desperate need. Maya traveled frequently, visiting new facilities, training volunteers, and sharing the lessons she had learned over decades of rescue work. But no matter how far she went, she always returned to the original sanctuary, the place where it all began. It was her anchor, a reminder of the moment her life had changed forever. One evening, during a quiet walk through the garden, Maya was joined by Jenna, her longtime friend and first volunteer. The two women strolled in companionable silence, their footsteps crunching softly on the gravel path. "Can you believe it's been 30 years? Jenna asked, her voice tinged with awe. "Look at everything we've built." Maya smiled, her eyes misting. "I still remember that morning on a highway, like it was yesterday," she said. "I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I couldn't leave them there." "And look what that moment turned into," Jenna said, gesturing to the vibrant sanctuary around them. "You took something broken and turned it into something beautiful." As the anniversary of the puppies' rescue approached, Maya planned a special ceremony to honor their memory. She invited everyone who had been part of the Highway Angels journey: volunteers, adopters, donors, and community members who had supported the cause. The event was held in the garden, now more beautiful than ever, with flowers blooming in every color and a statue of the puppies standing proud at its center. Maya stood before the crowd, her heart full as she looked out at the sea of faces. Many of them held the leashes of their rescue pets, the animals who were living, breathing proof of the sanctuary's impact. 30 years ago, I found 5 little lives abandoned on a highway," Maya began, her voice steady but emotional. "They were scared, helpless, and left to fend for themselves. But they didn't just survive, they started a movement. They reminded us that every life matters, and that even in the face of cruelty, we can choose compassion." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Because of those puppies, we've saved tens of thousands of animals. We've built a community of kindness, and we've inspired others to carry this work forward. Their story isn't just about them, it's about all of us. And it's a story that will never end." After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed, Maya lingered in the garden, taking a moment to reflect. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm, golden light over the sanctuary. She knelt by the statue, her hand resting on its base. "You've done so much," she said softly, "more than I ever thought possible. And as long as I'm here, I'll keep fighting for you, for all of them." A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the sounds of laughter and life from the sanctuary. Maya closed her eyes, feeling a deep sense of peace. She had taken something dark and turned it into light, and that light would continue to shine for generations to come. Because Highway Angels wasn't just a rescue. It was a legacy, and it was proof that even the smallest acts of kindness could change the world. The years turned into decades, and Maya's name became synonymous with animal rescue and advocacy. Her story was taught in schools, her efforts celebrated in documentaries, and her movement became a template for communities worldwide. But to Maya, her most important achievement was the sanctuary itself: the lives saved, the bonds formed, and the hope restored. One afternoon, as Maya walked through the garden, she noticed a young girl sitting by the statue of the puppies, much like Anna had years ago. The girl held a small notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration as she sketched the statue. Maya approached gently, her curiosity piqued. "That's a beautiful drawing," she said, her voice warm. The girl looked up, startled, then smiled shyly. "Thank you," she said. "I wanted to capture how special they are." Maya knelt beside her, glancing at the detailed sketch. "Do you know their story?" she asked. The girl nodded eagerly. "My mom told me. She said you found them on a highway and that you saved them. And because of them, you saved so many others." Maya felt a lump form in her throat. "That's right," she said softly. "They were the start of everything." The girl hesitated, then added, "I want to help animals too. Maybe someday I can do what you did." Maya smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. "You already are," she said. "By caring, by dreaming big, you're already making a difference." As Maya grew older, she began thinking about the future of Highway Angels. The sanctuary was thriving, with a dedicated team of leaders and volunteers who shared her vision. But Maya wanted to ensure its mission would continue long after she was gone. She worked tirelessly to establish a foundation, creating a structure that would support the sanctuary for generations. The foundation's board included longtime volunteers like Jenna, as well as passionate advocates who had been inspired by the sanctuary's work. "This place isn't just mine," Maya said during a board meeting. "It belongs to everyone who believes in kindness and second chances." The foundation was named Rosie's Legacy, in honor of one of the puppies who had started it all. The name served as a reminder of the sanctuary's origins and the power of one small act to create lasting change. On the 50th anniversary of the puppy's rescue, Maya returned to the garden for a special ceremony. The sanctuary had grown into a sprawling haven, with state-of-the-art facilities and lush green spaces for the animals. The garden, however, remained much the same, a quiet, sacred space where the sanctuary's heart and soul resided. Families from around the world came to celebrate, many bringing their rescue pets to honor the sanctuary that had saved them. Maya, now in her 80s, stood before the crowd with tears in her eyes, overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and gratitude. "These puppies taught me something I'll never forget," she said, her voice strong despite her age. "They taught me that even in the darkest moments, there's always a chance for light. That no matter how small or scared you feel, you can make a difference. And because of them, we've built something beautiful, something that will outlast all of us." She looked out at the sea of faces, each one a testament to the sanctuary's impact. "This isn't the end of their story," she said. "It's just the beginning." As the sun set that evening, Maya sat alone by the statue, her hand resting on its base. She thought about the countless lives the sanctuary had touched, each one a ripple in the vast ocean of change the puppies had started. "You've done more than I ever dreamed," she whispered, "and I'll always carry you with me." A soft breeze stirred the air, and Maya felt a sense of peace settle over her. The sanctuary, the animals, the people, it was all part of something bigger than herself. And she knew that as long as there were people who cared, the light she and the puppies had sparked would never go out. Because their story wasn't just about survival. It was about love, resilience, and the power of one small act to change the world. And as Maya closed her eyes, she knew that their legacy was safe, carried forward by the countless hearts they had touched. In the years that followed, Highway Angels continued to grow and flourish, its mission carried forward by a new generation of leaders inspired by Maya's vision. The sanctuary became a global symbol of hope, attracting volunteers, donors, and advocates from all corners of the world. The foundation, Rosie's legacy, ensured that the work Maya had started would never falter, even as she began stepping back from her day-to-day responsibilities. Maya spent more time in the garden, finding solace among the flowers and the statue of the 5 puppies. Visitors often stopped to speak with her, sharing stories of the animals they had adopted or how the sanctuary had changed their lives. These conversations were a source of joy and pride for Maya, a reminder of the profound ripple effect her work had created. One afternoon, as Maya rested on a bench near the statue, she was approached by a young woman carrying a framed photograph. "Mrs. Carter," the woman asked hesitantly. Maya smiled warmly, gesturing for her to sit. "Please call me Maya," she said. "How can I help you?" The woman sat down, her hands trembling slightly as she held out the photograph. It showed a man and a dog, both smiling at the camera. "This is my father," she said. "And that's Max, one of the puppies you saved from the highway." Maya gasped softly, her hand covering her mouth. "Max," she repeated, her voice filled with emotion. "I remember him. He was such a brave little pup." The woman's name was Emily, and she explained that her father, Kelly's husband, had passed away recently. "Max was his best friend," Emily said, her voice trembling. "They were inseparable. My dad always said Max was the best thing that ever happened to him." Tears filled Maya's eyes as she listened. "Max was a special dog," she said softly, "and it sounds like he had a beautiful life with your family." Emily nodded, wiping her eyes. "I just wanted to thank you," she said, "for saving him, for giving my dad those years of happiness. He always said you were a hero." Maya reached out, taking Emily's hand in hers. "The real heroes are the animals," she said. "They teach us how to love unconditionally, how to keep going no matter what. Max taught me that, and it sounds like he taught your father that too." As Emily left, Maya sat quietly with the photograph, her thoughts drifting back to that fateful morning on the highway. The memory was as vivid as ever, the fear in the puppy's eyes, the roar of traffic, and the overwhelming urge to save them. She had no idea then how much those tiny lives would change her own. Looking around the sanctuary, Maya saw the legacy those puppies had left behind. The animals playing in the fields, the volunteers laughing as they cared for them, the families strolling through the garden with their rescue pets. It was a living, breathing testament to the power of compassion and resilience. "You were my beginning," Maya said softly, addressing the statue. "And because of you, there's no end to what we can do." In her later years, Maya began writing a memoir, capturing the journey of Highway Angels and the lessons she had learned along the way. The book, Second Chances, The Story of Highway Angels, became a bestseller, inspiring countless readers to take action in their own communities. Schools adopted it into their curriculums, and animal rescue organizations used it as a guide for building compassionate initiatives. Maya spent her days signing books, visiting sanctuaries, and mentoring young advocates who were eager to continue her work. But no matter where life took her, she always returned to the sanctuary, to the garden that held the heart of everything she had built. On a quiet evening, surrounded by the warmth of the sanctuary she loved, Maya reflected on her life. She had faced challenges, heartbreaks, and moments of doubt, but she had also experienced more love and fulfillment than she ever imagined possible. "You've given me everything," she whispered to the statue of the puppies, "and I hope I've done right by you." The wind stirred gently through the trees, carrying with it the faint sound of laughter and life from the sanctuary. Maya smiled, her heart full. She knew that as long as Highway Angels stood, the story of those 5 little puppies would continue to inspire and transform lives. Because their story wasn't just about survival, it was about hope. And hope, Maya knew, was the most powerful legacy of all. One morning, as Maya walked through the sanctuary, Jenna rushed toward her, her face pale with worry. "Maya, you need to see this," she said, handing over her phone. Maya's heart sank as she read the news article. A major corporation had announced plans to develop the land surrounding the sanctuary into a sprawling industrial complex. "This can't be real," Maya said, her voice trembling. The sanctuary had always been a peaceful haven, insulated from the encroachments of the outside world. Now the prospect of noise, pollution, and disruption threatened everything she had worked so hard to build. "They're holding a public hearing next week," Jenna said. "We need to act fast." Maya immediately mobilized the community, calling on volunteers, supporters, and animal advocates to rally against the development. The sanctuary had always been a symbol of hope, and now it needed protection more than ever. Social media lit up with posts about the fight to save Highway Angels, and petitions quickly gained thousands of signatures. But the corporation was powerful, with deep pockets and political connections. They dismissed the sanctuary's concerns as sentimental, arguing that the development would bring jobs and economic growth to the area. Maya felt the weight of the battle pressing down on her, but she refused to give up. "This isn't just about a piece of land," she told a group of volunteers during an emergency meeting. "It's about everything we stand for. If we lose this, we lose our voice for the animals." The day of the hearing arrived, and the atmosphere was electric. Supporters of Highway Angels packed the room, holding signs and wearing shirts emblazoned with the sanctuary's logo. Maya took a deep breath as she stepped up to the podium, her hands trembling slightly. She began by sharing the story of the 5 puppies who had started it all, their journey from a desolate highway to a sanctuary that had saved tens of thousands of lives. She spoke about the animals who had found love and safety at Highway Angels, and the families whose lives had been transformed by their adoptions. "This sanctuary isn't just a place," Maya said, her voice steady and filled with emotion. "It's a promise to the voiceless, the abandoned, and the forgotten. Taking it away would be more than a loss. It would be a betrayal of everything we've worked for." Her words were met with thunderous applause, but the corporation's representatives remained unmoved. They argued their case with cold precision, focusing on legalities and economic benefits while dismissing the sanctuary's impact as insignificant. The hearing stretched late into the night, tensions running high as both sides presented their arguments. Maya felt a flicker of doubt as the developers unveiled glossy plans for their complex, complete with charts and statistics designed to sway the decision-makers. But then something unexpected happened. One by one, members of the community began stepping forward to speak. There was Anna, who shared how adopting Benny had changed her life. There was Dr. Taylor, who described the countless animals who had been saved by the sanctuary's care. And there was Emily, holding a photograph of Max, her father's beloved dog. "This place isn't just about animals," Emily said, her voice trembling. "It's about people, too. It's about love, hope, and the belief that every life matters. We can't let that be taken away." When the hearing concluded, Maya waited anxiously for the decision. Days passed, each one filled with uncertainty and fear. But throughout it all, the community rallied around her, their unwavering support a source of strength. Finally, the decision was announced. The sanctuary's land was protected. The corporation's plans were denied, and the peaceful haven of Highway Angels would remain untouched. Maya collapsed into a chair as the news sank in, tears streaming down her face. "We did it," she whispered. "We saved it." The victory was celebrated with an enormous gathering at the sanctuary. Supporters from all over came to honor the fight that had preserved the sanctuary's legacy. Maya stood before the crowd, her heart full as she addressed them. "This was never just about me or this place," she said. "It was about all of us, our love for these animals, our belief in second chances, and our determination to fight for what's right. Together, we've proven that hope is stronger than fear, and love is stronger than greed." The crowd erupted into cheers, and Maya looked toward the garden, where the statue of the 5 puppies stood bathed in golden light. She felt their presence as clearly as she had on that morning so many years ago. As the celebration wound down, Maya walked alone through the sanctuary, her thoughts turning to the future. The fight had been exhausting, but it had also reaffirmed her purpose. She knelt by the statue, her hand resting on its base. "You've always been my guide," she said softly, "and because of you, this place will stand forever." A soft breeze stirred the air, carrying with it the faint sound of laughter and life from the sanctuary. Maya closed her eyes, a sense of peace settling over her. The sanctuary was safe, its mission stronger than ever, and its story, her story, would continue to inspire for generations to come. Because the legacy of those 5 tiny puppies wasn't just about survival. It was about transformation, love, and the power of resilience. And as long as Highway Angels stood, their light would never fade.